Let's do a CC video. I'd consider modern flat earth movements to be a bit of a cult. Maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, but I really wanted to cover this video today, and it's my stream, so I get to make the call. Let's check it out. 3 minutes left on the hype train. Bumble Homestead says, I mean, I guess God being drunk angry person makes sense for the reality we find ourselves in. True. Chaotic Kitten with 100 bits, and Mike Max says, so why is her cult called Love is One when she's not lovely at all? Marketing? Old enough to know better now. Thanks for gifting a sub.
Weather Center.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. CC
Ooh, Chaotic Kitten just earned the 1K bits badge. Nice.
here, Chris from New York, Westchester County. It's a 6/4/21. Don't hear much about the deaths anymore, right? When do they actually? What was the specific date that they cut that out? That's what I would really.
You can look up the deaths. I don't watch network news, so I don't know what they're reporting necessarily, but COVID deaths have gone down a lot since people started getting vaccinated because case numbers have gone down. So the total deaths are almost 600,000, which is still an absolute tragedy that was preventable. But now our 7-day average is down to 414, which, while still, again, every single one of those deaths is a tragedy, it's a manageable number. It's not up here where we were back in January or here where we were in April of last year. I'm sure we're going to have spikes again, but with people being vaccinated, it'll probably be better. It's almost like when you solve a problem, you can stop reporting on the problem.
Like to know, nothing about that anymore. Now it's just pandemonium with riots and car accidents and other statistics that you'll never understand how they could even possibly get to these numbers. And that's the beauty of it.
You don't understand. That doesn't mean statisticians don't understand, CC. Izala 3000, thanks for 100 bits. Completing the first level of the hype train.
That's what I love about the news. It's all bullshit. They can say whatever the fuck they want to say. They can do whatever they want to do. They can cherry pick anything the hell they want to do. It's unbelievable. It really is remarkable how they are people that actually spend their lives watching the news and listening to this complete nonsense. Bullshit.
CC, you spend your life driving around in your car, filming YouTube videos, and listening to other flat earthers on YouTube, and you have the gall to criticize someone for watching MSNBC? Seems kind of hypocritical. Nick Snort, thanks for 100 bits, and Mike Max says, it's almost like people are taking the virus seriously and taking the vaccine to the point that the numbers of deaths are lower. No, that can't be it. Bumble Homestead says, why aren't they reporting on polio and smallpox anymore, huh?
Total nonsense. Just like gravity is. Yeah, that's gravity. Gravity, remember?
I'd like to imagine some sort of COVID denier or a anti-vax person who's not a flat earther who just happened across this video, and they're agreeing up until this point, and they're like, yeah, you stick it to him. And then all of a sudden he says, it's all bullshit like gravity. And they go, oh. Oh no.
When you learn gravity in your science class, well, that must explain why the air is here, right? Yeah, of course, it's gravity, it's holding it in.
I mean, it's holding it to the Earth, yes. The atmosphere is just particles. Those particles are attracted to the center of the largest mass around them, which is Earth. So they stick to the Earth or are attracted to it the same as we and everything else on the Earth are.
That's funny, because when I get...
Kirathan says, Hannah, there can't be gravity because there's no downward bias.
a cylinder and I do a vacuum test, all of a sudden, it crushes the cylinder.
Again, CC fundamentally misunderstands what's happening in those experiments. CC, that happens because you've depressurized the inside of a container that is surrounded by pressure. So because there's no pressure on the inside to combat the outside forces win and they crush the thing. That is not analogous to what is happening on Earth when gases are attracted to the Earth to create an atmosphere. I don't understand what he thinks is the relation here, but it just doesn't exist. Mylin, thank you for following. Von Tuck says, I started doing IT at a hospital, and during the tour, so we know our way around. The guy said it was weird how the morgue filled up right before COVID hit and lockdown started. It's almost as if the lockdowns were saving lives or something. Hype train 24% to level 2 with a minute and a half left.
And it's violent too, very violent. If you were to be in a room when something like that
I understand that it's because both are vacuums, but he's misunderstanding the reason that the thing that is turned into a vacuum collapses. It doesn't collapse just because it is a vacuum. It collapses because it is a vacuum surrounded by an atmosphere of pressure. That has nothing to do with whether or not gravity can pull gases to the surface of the Earth, creating an atmosphere, which is what it does.
You'd be dead. You wouldn't survive. There wouldn't be a countdown. 9. You are losing air. 8. 7. No. I'm sorry. It would be instantaneous. So if the gravity can't hold that, how is it holding the air?
But that's not gravity. That's not gravity, Chris. Okay, when you're doing that experiment, and Mythbusters, I think, even did a big version of this experiment where they took an entire tanker truck and turned the tank part into a vacuum chamber, and the same thing happened. Once you turned it into a vacuum, or a sufficient enough vacuum, it doesn't have to be 100%, the outside crushes it. 16 seconds left in the hype train. Rublum with 245-bit says, I imagine people like cause Baja to face palm at terminal velocity. I assume you mean CC, yes. Hype train over. Thanks for level 1, everyone. So, what's happening there is, again, because there is atmosphere on the outside pushing on the vacuum, it crushes it, right? That's not what's happening on Earth with the atmosphere that we have. It's just being pulled to Earth, and then there is also a vacuum once you get far enough away, because at that distance, the gravity effect isn't enough to pull particles to the Earth. Mike Max says, years of scientific research, experiments, and understanding to explain how everything works. Flat earther. That's fake news, you sheeple.
We're in this supposed ball that we live on. Oh, I don't know. And where's the bleeding part of space? Nobody can explain that, right? There's a certain part of space where the professors will tell you the molecules get a little smaller, they kind of dissipate, they break up.
The molecules don't get smaller, the clusters of them become less dense because there are fewer of them per square volume, whatever. Cotton Candy says, we really need better education. I guess we do.
A little bit, and then that's where space begins. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. The vacuum...
It's a gradient, CC. As you get further away from the Earth, there gets less and less atmosphere. There's no solid line that's like, here's where the atmosphere ends. It's a gradient.
Of space is what we've been taught. We live in a vacuum in space, okay?
We live on a planet with an atmosphere that is in space, which is a vacuum. Yeah?
That's what we live on. That's what they tell you. Well, it's all bullshit, people. Okay, gravity is not from molten lava twisting around and...
Is he confusing gravity with Earth's electromagnetic field? Because I think traditionally, the electromagnetic field of the Earth is explained by the molten core moving and creating an electromagnetic field. But I think he thinks that's the explanation for gravity, which it isn't. Gravity is caused by the mass of the Earth, not molten magma.
Moving around in this magnetic sphere and creating gravity. No, it's nothing like that. It's simple. It's pressure. It's amazing. It's very simple. You see, Flat Earth makes the whole concept very simple. The truth makes the concept simple.
See, this is why I wanted to highlight this video on Cult Watch today, because I did watch this video already. I've seen it. Sorry to spoil the illusion, but sometimes I do see the videos in their entirety before I actually cover them here. Not all the time, though. Not even most of the time. But I thought this would be relevant here, because his explanation for why he thinks flat Earth is real is so illuminating to the mindset, I think, of a lot of conspiracy theorists, and that is, it's not about how correct it is. It's about its power to simplify reality. Dan Olson, Folding Ideas, has a great little documentary on YouTube called, oh gosh, is it Finding Flat Earth? I always have to look it up because I word it slightly wrong. In Search of Flat Earth, which is an excellent little documentary. And Dan throughout this goes into sort of the psychology of conspiracy theorists, both flat earthers and QAnon people, who often are one and the same, though not always. And a big commonality between different kinds of conspiracy theorists appears to be their inability to cope with the complexity of the modern world. The modern world is crazy. Like, I'll fully admit that, right? The modern world is just bananas. There's so much going on, and no one can understand even a good portion of it in its entirety, right? It's big and complicated, which is why in society we all get our little roles, right? You know, Chris drives a van that's accessible to wheelchairs. Baja is a scientist that specializes in a very specific thing, developmental genetics. There are people out there who are plant biologists. There are people who are doctors. So everyone specializes into like a specific thing that they're good at or are trained to do. That way everything can still function. Like we're all pieces in a watch almost as a society. Because no one can learn, no individual person could learn how to build a computer, for instance. I'm not talking about buying parts somewhere and snapping them all together. Everyone can do that. What I'm saying is you could not mine the raw materials, turn them into metals and plastics and silicon, and then, you know, create the chips and develop the software all on your own. All of us are working separately. Now, that does come with the issue that you often have to rely on experts in their fields because you just are out of your depth on so many things because you specialize in your one thing. But then there are people like Cece, Chris, who are made incredibly uncomfortable by that fact. For some reason, he cannot cope with the fact that the world is too complicated for him as an individual to understand in its entirety. He can't handle that politics and science and sociology have become so complicated, so they deny reality and accept a different model of the universe that is simple. It's black and white. It's easily understandable by one person. It's not that things are complicated and the universe is a crazy place that we'll never fully understand, and we're flying through the solar system, which is flying through the Milky Way galaxy, which is flying through the universe at unfathomable speeds. No, it's just we are on a flat plane, and there's a God, and God did stuff, and that's it. That's all there is to know about the universe. It's simple. It's wrong, but it's simple. And that seems to be the goal of so many of these people. Chaotic Kitten says, by the way, the kitten that is in my profile picture is named Sidra. She lives in a feral cat colony in British Columbia, Canada. She's queen of the stink eye. Very adorable.
There's no geometry to figure out any planets or how far anything is and how far away that story, because it doesn't exist. It's all an amazing light show up there. That's all that is. The eclipse, oh my God, the eclipse busts flat Earth. The eclipse helps flat Earth. It shows you even more that the Creator can do whatever he or she, whoever it may be, wants.
See, that's an interesting point, too. Whenever an eclipse comes around, usually, at least, I follow sort of flat Earth circles, because I find it interesting, not only for stream, but just for my own personal entertainment. So whenever an eclipse happens, the flat Earthers will get into discussions, and people will go get in discussions with flat Earthers, and sometimes news places will interview them about it. And there's all sorts of theories on how eclipses work on a flat Earth model. They don't, because the Earth isn't flat. Surprise. But what is interesting about this is CC has completely excused himself from the conversation by further simplifying the conspiracy down to, sure, eclipses that we see in the sky demonstrably do not make any sense on a flat Earth. However, I believe in an all-powerful God. that can do anything. So even though it doesn't make any logical sense, I still think my beliefs are true because irrationality is built into the belief system. It's irrational, sure, but God can do anything, so something irrational can be made rational through magical thinking. So really this is shorthand for CC says, I don't understand how eclipses work. I don't want to learn how eclipses work, so it's just God. God did it. A living consciousness did it. It's interesting. Fontuck says this world is hard to understand with a link, and it's pixel art of Ben Shapiro in a Catgirl maid uniform. Great.
They can create anything up there. And you look at it as something that's real. It's not.
It is. It's everything else out there. It's everything else. It's the moon, it's the sun, it's the other planets in our solar systems, it's the other stars far away, other solar systems. It's not fake just because it's complicated. Juka Bazooka, thanks for following.
It's all created there for you, for everybody, and it's intelligently designed. That's the best part.
Here's another thing. It has to be... I think some people's egos can't take the idea that human beings aren't the center of the universe. Like, we just happen to be a life form that developed sentience and sapience, and now we have, you know, politics and jobs and self-worth issues and all that kind of dumb shit. You know, society. And some people can't handle that, so they feel the need to place us on some place of importance. Like, we have to be the top of the universal hierarchy of importance. Otherwise, I think it just drives them crazy. I don't get it. I'm kind of an absurdist, though, so maybe that helps. Lily Love Stuff says, is Ben Shapiro happy science Satan? Is Ben Shapiro happy science Satan? Oh, happy science. We didn't see him hunt dinosaurs, so...
That means there's a God, there's a creator. Yes, there is. And there could be many other stories of how this whole intelligent design was created from, but it doesn't make a difference. It's here, you're in it. And it quite possibly could be a digital world that we live in. And that's right, the plausible possibility of beyond flat Earth. You know, I want you to look at something real quick. You know, when the lights are turned off in your house, you know, and you're kind of looking at things, you know, when that dark shaded thing, you can't really make out anything. You know, you see the outline of the chair, you see the outline of the glass table. You know, you might see a little reflection from the moon, you know, coming through the window or something like that. But it hasn't rendered itself until you turn the light on. And that's exactly what the digital world...
You can't see... The visual information that you gather through your eyeballs is dependent on the amount of light that bounces off other things into your eyes. So if there's less light, then you can perceive less, because that light is information that your eyes are gathering for your brain to interpret. So if the lights are off, there's less information for you to gather, because you're literally using those particles and what they bounce off of to create an image. Things exist even when you're not looking at them.
World is like. When you're not looking at something, it hasn't rendered itself. It's just like when a tree falls in a forest. Does it make any sound? No.
It does. When a tree falls in a forest, it makes a sound, because sound is a function of when something does something, it disturbs the atmosphere around it and creates wave functions. Creates waves. That's what sound is. It exists regardless of your perception of it. Bumble Homestead says, I'm not sure we should leave medically vulnerable people alone with this person. I would agree.
No, it doesn't if you're not there. No.
Have I heard of aphantasia? I have not. It actually kind of sounds familiar. If I have, it must have been in passing or something. I don't know. Aphantasia. I don't know.
I'm watching it. See, that's how a digital world works. Okay, and the reason why, because in video games, it
Life isn't a video game. Real life is real life.
strengthens the memory of the game itself. Why waste something that you're not looking at? Why make it look beautiful?
The Earth does not exist for your convenience, CC, nor mine. It's just matter that exists in the universe.
And every little molecule you can see, when you can just make it kind of disappear, a silhouette of it. And then when you look at it, and the computer knows when you're going to look at it. Yes, we did an experiment on that. The double slit experiment. Remember that? Remember that experiment? Yeah, that's one interesting one too. I spoke about that about a year ago. But the funny thing is it knows what you're going to pick. 8 seconds. 8 seconds. So it has plenty of time to render whatever you're going to look at. 8 seconds is a long time, guys. 8 seconds. What can you do in 8 seconds? I don't know. Can you carve an apple? No, I don't think so. It takes a little more than 8 seconds. But you sure can.
Out of all the random things to pick for, like, what's an example of something you can't quite do in 8 seconds? He chose carve an apple. What does that mean? What?
You can create something and render it from when it looks like a silhouette of something and make it appear beautiful, just like you would expect it to. See, everything behind me right now you can see because I'm looking at it.
But you're not. You're not. You're looking at the road in front of you. Like, sometimes I would hope you're glancing in your rear view mirror, but it's not like the background blips out of existence.
Okay, and there are other people here that are looking at it.
Like, you can place a camera in the woods and no one is around and it still captures footage. And I'm sure CC would be like, well, it's an observer because it's a camera and someone's going to observe that footage later. So it renders just like it's your eyes. What? What? That doesn't make any sense.
But on an island somewhere in the middle of nowhere where nobody is.
Because, like, if that were true, then surely the processing speed would have to have gone down when cameras were invented and popularized, because so many people are filming so many things nowadays, from CCTV to your vacation footage. You know what I mean? Everyone's filming everything. So why isn't it affecting the ability for things to render properly or quickly? Because if resources aren't an issue, why wouldn't you have everything rendered all the time? Again, this is not compatible, but on a surface layer it feels simple, so he likes it. Kirthan says, it's like that one recent chick tract where the person thought only things they saw existed. Yeah.
It hasn't rendered itself. It's amazing.
CC hasn't quite mastered object permanence yet. That's a skill that's a little above his pay grade.
The digital world.
They downloaded more RAM? Must have been.
Absolutely amazing. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank everybody.
DDoS reality.
That have managed to find my channel, and God knows how you did. Because I think I'm the least channel out of all of them that is going to be on any suggestions at all whatsoever when it comes out of YouTube. But congratulations, you're here. Whether you're trolls or not, it makes no difference to me. You know, just more fun. More interesting comments down below. Anyway, I just want to touch base with everybody. I'm going to give some P1000 things coming up because it's beach time now. Unfortunately, we are still have a family member moving, which has just been a total disaster. I don't know if you've moved in your lifetime, because it sucks, okay? It's a total disaster. It's the biggest pain in the ass you'll ever do. And that's probably why when people move into their first house, they just don't move out. You know, they just live there the rest of their lives. I mean, really, why not? It makes sense. If you're happy with it, why not stay with it? That's the way I look at things. I'm happy with Flat Earth. I find it simple. Flat Earth makes everything simple. It gives you character. It tells you who you are. You grow up when you know it's flat. And you...
Cult. Vontuk says, our world is a simulation of flat Earth, but the computer running it is on a round one.
You've been lied to. And there are many other things going on. You know, the mountains aren't the mountains you think they are. You know, it's amazing. When they pulled up some things from World War II, they're petrified. You see, don't you understand that none of this is billions of years old? Okay, none of it. All of it's there to make you think that you live on this stupid spinning wet ball going millions, trillions of miles per hour through this infinite universe when you're going nowhere. You're stationary. That's moving up there, yeah, it is. But you're not moving. You're not going anywhere. Okay? You're staying right here. It's remarkable. People can't see all the bullshit. They can't see that they won't let you in areas where you can actually figure out that the Earth is flat. You know, Antarctica, you can't go down there.
You absolutely can go to Antarctica. You can go book a cruise right now. Antarctic cruise. Let's book a cruise. Top 10 Antarctica cruises. Wow, top 10. There's a lot of them, apparently. Antarctica cruises. Falkland Islands. You can go look at the penguins. You can go look at penguins. I know there are some that let you go to, like, the North Pole, the symbolic South Pole, I think. You get it. You can absolutely go to Antarctica. This is a misunderstanding that a lot of flat earthers have because of the Antarctic Treaty. The Antarctic Treaty says that no government can create a military base there or try to claim any land like, oh, this section of Antarctica is America's or whoever's. That's what it says. It doesn't say you can't go there. You absolutely can go there as a private citizen. Many people have, whether through the cruises, people go for scientific research purposes. Often there are plenty of like bases there that house scientists for their different experiments and stuff. There are a couple people I know who have like done treks across the continent for like, I don't even know what the phrase would be, you know, explorer reasons, just to prove they could. Like a guy was on like a, oh gosh, what do they call that? When it's, you have the sled, a dog sled. He had a dog sled that he took across the entirety of Antarctica. So like there are, you know, people do stuff in Antarctica. People just normally don't because it's a barren desert wasteland that'll kill you immediately because it's cold. And cold is an understatement. Possum Blood, thanks for subscribing with Prime.
You know, go ahead. I mean, how many times do we have to tell people who are not flat earthers that there's a treaty that's been signed? No review until sometime in like 2041. No questions asked.
What do you mean, no questions asked? It was a treaty that a ton of nations had input on and then signed. You can go read it.
That's it. There's never going to be a world war. There's never going to be a meteor. There's never going to be an alien invasion.
I hope there isn't.
And
Do they think that we are expecting that?
it sucks, because I was looking forward to that.
You were looking to... Wait, were you looking forward to an alien invasion or World War III? Both are bad.
Watching Star Trek and all that stuff, and just...
Star Trek was not about an alien invasion. I think you fundamentally misunderstood the concept of Star Trek.
Waiting for. When is it? When's the mothership coming? When? Nah, never showed up. But yet hell has come. You know, they've turned the world upside down. Everything is all over the fucking place. I mean, let's start off with the sun. That's great. Okay. This is light. Light. I love light. I like light speed. That is 20 light years away. That one is 30 light years away. You know, but it's the same size as the sun. Really? Okay. All right. So when we see the eclipse and
Stars aren't all the same size as the sun. To my understanding, in fact, our sun is relatively small for the class of star that it is. So no, all stars are not the same size. Quite the opposite.
it sharpens the shadow into 70 miles, and we get these explanations of scientists that there must be some sort of ray that is created through a star, and that's why it's not as big as it should be, like a toy soldier against a wall, So let me ask you a question. when you're looking at a star, shouldn't that be the same thing? That it should just get so small where it disappears?
Stars are incredibly large, and in fact they do at a long enough distance. There are stars out there in the universe that we can't see. The stars that we can visibly see are just the ones that are close enough that their light does reach us. But there are absolutely stars we can't see with our naked eye. That's why we have telescopes and stuff that can see further. Hydrate. Okay. And there are stars that are beyond, you know, the reach of our telescopes even. You know, we're doing the best we can, CC.
And that thing is 93 million miles away, yet it's about the size of a $50 or a quarter.
Yeah, it's very big. The sun is huge. Angular size is a thing, CC.
And that's only 93 million miles away. What happens if you take that and triple it, double it, quadruple it, make it 10 light years away?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. The natural world is an amazing thing, CC. Open a book sometime and learn about it.
Wouldn't be able to see it. Just like you can't see those stars up there because they're not stars.
They're stars.
That's an amazing light show. God knows what it is. You know, we have no idea. We've done zoom on these things and they look like liquid.
My favorite scientific technique for studying stars. The zoom button. Chaotic Kitten with 420 bits says, hee 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 hee. Take a nice rip for me, why don't you?
It looks like music, beautiful music.
What he's talking about is there are flat earthers who have, hold on. Zooming in on stars. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this, but there are flat earthers. I'm probably going to find professional images, which is what I don't want to find. There are flat earthers who basically took their P900 cameras, or P1000 cameras, which are really popular amongst flat earthers. Nathan Thompson has one of these, and he shows the footage. But basically, he took his camera, not even a telescope, he took his camera, and he zoomed in on a star. And of course, it looks like shit, because it's a consumer camera. It's not meant for looking into deep space. And they're like, what is this thing? When you can look at, you know, actual astrophotography done by professionals or even amateurs, but who have the proper equipment that can see stuff way better. It's so frustrating. Because again, like, we've looked into this before. Prosumer telescopes. Like, a nice telescope can cost between this one's even 85. I don't know how good this is going to be. It's probably fine for looking at the moon and some of the other planets. But if you want to look at stars, you're probably looking at a range of like 300 to upwards of 1200, 1500 if you want something really nice to take some cool pictures with and with like nice tracking and all that stuff. You can buy these. I could buy these right now. I have enough money that I'm not going to, because I have no interest in astrophotography. But how is it that I, who am 27 years old, and do this bullshit for a living, could go and buy this right now, yet all the flat earthers collectively have not apparently thought to pool their money and buy a telescope? I think I know why, and I think it's because even they know to some extent that if they were to do that, it would prove them wrong very quickly, so they don't want to do that.
God, you know, it's just unbelievable. You know, everything is upside down, everything's all over the place. Finally, people are getting back on the road, which is amazing. You know, now we have more traffic.
Your grandpa worked for NASA before he died, and you've got a fantastic telescope in your living room? That's awesome.
The accident is up, I think, 8%.
Kirthan says many colleges have observatories that are free to the public. That's actually really cool.
You know,
I didn't know
it's
that.
because everybody's been on their fat ass on the couch watching reruns of freaking Sex in the City and this other nonsense.
Sex in the City is the most recent pop culture reference that CC can muster. When did Sex in the City, when did that go off the air? The most recent pop cultural reference he could think of ended in... Come on. Give me the years. 2004. So his most recent pop cultural reference is almost 20 years old. That tracks.
On TV when they should be researching.
Your university has an observatory and we should go? Fuck yeah, I want to go to the observatory. That sounds fun.
Flat Earth. You've had a year to research Flat Earth. To look at everything that's on the internet that's there. You know? Now YouTube has just suppressed everything, and that's probably part of the plan. Because they didn't really want anybody to look through it, because when you put up Flat Earth, usually what happens...
That's true. He did in one video talk about the 80s. He was talking about music from the 80s, and he was like, 20 years ago, the music was better in the 80s. And I was like, Chris, the 80s were 40 years ago. The 80s were not 20 years ago.
Happens is Flat Earth Society will come up, and Flat Earth Society has nothing to do with us, okay? That is a government agency there to make Flat Earth look stupid. That's what it's there for. Unbelievable. And why? I mean, if Flat Earth is a ridiculous thing, isn't it? Why would anybody even consider that the Earth is flat? Then why are there millions of people against us?
Because you're funny and you're wrong. I think millions is overstating the amount of people who even think about flat earthers, though. I think I'm probably in the 99th percentile of people who even give a shit to pay attention to flat earthers, much less people who actively try and rebut this garbage. I think there's maybe, and I'm talking on the whole of YouTube, you know, there's some big people out there like Simon Dan, but there's probably like a dozen or so, maybe, people who regularly talk about and try and debunk flat earth stuff, or even when I do, I wouldn't necessarily always consider debunking. A lot of it's just like, this is interesting, let's look at what this guy has to say. He's wrong, but he's interesting as a character. But yeah, there's probably like a dozen people who do that on YouTube. The concept of flat earth is not popular even to dunk on. I just do it because I have weird obsessions with specific topics, and this happens to be one of them. Hydrate. But no, millions of people aren't against you. They don't give a shit.
Why are there government agencies making it look like we live on a globe to keep that lie going? But yet,
because we do live on a globe. They're not making it look like that. They're demonstrating it.
1915, 1920s, everybody knew the Earth was flat. That's what...
No, they didn't. In the 1920s, people did not think the Earth was flat. What? You think people in the 1920s thought the Earth was flat? No! Even the pop cultural myth. So there's a pop cultural myth, which you may have heard in school, that Christopher Columbus discovered the Earth was round. Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492, right? So that's the 1400s. Centuries prior to when he's talking about. And even that wasn't true. People knew the Earth wasn't flat long before Columbus. CC knows so little about so much that I forget how little he knows. When he says something so stupid as people in the 1920s thought the Earth was flat, I don't know how he puts shoes on by himself. Like, how do you operate in life knowing this little? I don't get it.
That's what they were teaching in school.
No, they were not teaching the Earth is flat in school in the 1920s.
It's amazing. It really is. All right, anyway, more to come. I thank you for subbing. I thank you for viewing my videos, and let me be a part of your life.
Oh my God, Chris. Oh no, he's got videos in his kitchen. 2 videos, and they're both exactly 4 minutes and 20 seconds long. Is he smoking the dank ganj?
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. 6/5/21. Welcome to the fourth wall. See, the ISS doesn't show you that, do they? Because they can't. They can't show you that fourth wall. Where that camera's coming from, right over there.
Okay, but... I'm confused just the point he's trying to make right now.
You know why? Because the ISS is complete fucking bullshit. Doesn't exist.
Wait, is he mad that the ISS does... Oh, are these the same video just from a different angle? Is that the point? Yeah, okay. It's the same video. That explains why they're the same length.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. 6/5/21. Welcome to the fourth wall.
Okay, so he's mad that the ISS doesn't have two cameras directly pointed at each other. There are a lot of cameras on the ISS. I would imagine some of them probably actually do point at each other at least a little bit. Not directly, but probably some of them get in frame of view of the other ones. Because most of the interesting stuff actually isn't directly, you know, pointing a camera at itself. That'd be kind of a waste of equipment, wouldn't it? Mike Mack says early depictions of the globe are around the 5th century. Yeah. I bring this up a lot, but there is an ISS live stream. It's not up all the time, but most of the time it is. Sometimes they do maintenance or whatever, and it goes off for that. Like right now, I don't know what they're doing. Blue screen. So they might be doing some sort of maintenance on the cameras or whatever. But like you can go and see old live streams from the same source. A lot of the time they play the ones with the spacewalks because it's interesting. But you can see footage that was captured live on the ISS, around the ISS, whatever. The camera moves around. You get it.
See the... Let me just get that. I just cleaned it. Not that they're advertising them. Care less.
Wow, the audio from that camera is really bad, though.
Double the size of it. But anyway, here, let's get back to reality. Alright, here we go. See? Now, what I want you to do is I want you to take a look.
His wife went out to shop, so he had 30 minutes to put this camera up and do this before she got home and yelled at him for being a dumbass.
Look at this. I want you to take a reflection of... Oh, by the way, the new tripod showed up. Yes.
Oh yeah, I love a video where I just get to stare at someone's back the whole time. Okay, let's watch the all-time greatest clip. The time his wife caught him doing flat earth bullshit in the kitchen and called him an idiot.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Well, same day, same time. This is not to scale, of course. When I grew up, the solar system was stationary.
Alright, honey, come on.
The sun was standing.
Why don't you stop this bullshit?
I love
Idiot.
Can you give me like 5 minutes?
No, you've had it all morning, and I'm just freezing, and I'm hungry, and I'm trying to stop cleaning the house.
Why did he upload that? And why has he kept it up? It's beautiful.